Alright, hello you lovelies, I am just getting out of Mickey 17 from Bong Joon-Ho, and it, from this director, is obviously going to be a weird time, but it is an especially weird time. This feels like if Miyazaki, instead of making an animated sweeping epic with lots of twists and turns, did that same tone, but it's a dark, twisted comedy in live action. But it's got a lot of very similar sensibilities, and it goes some very strange places. Gonna dive all into that, but please, 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 hit that subscription bell if you're here. I do lots and lots of comic stuff. I do movie reviews, TV reviews, all sorts of goodness, but this one was one of my most anticipated of the year, and now that I've seen it, I'm really excited to say I did like it overall. But it definitely got delayed for reasons I wasn't expecting. So I'm gonna give some mild spoilers about halfway through, and they're only contextual spoilers. It doesn't actually spoil anything in the movie, but I think it's uniquely kind of a one-of-one experience where a movie that isn't political in its nature of advertising ends up getting shifted because of politics. And I think that's kind of a one-of-one experience. But the movie first, full spoiler-free, I'll tell you when we get to context spoilers. The movie itself is a sci-fi epic that is a comedy. It is Bong Joon-Ho doing a commentary on the human condition, on mortality, on wealth inequality, on lots and lots of very important political things, but doing it in a way that is obviously satirical, but while it's satirical, it's able to really take jabs at some sci-fi tropes as well. So it does some sci-fi imagery that we've seen before. It does a lot of things that feel like a reflection of our world, as good sci-fi is, that like Trojan horse of commentary that genre content can be, but it does it while playing with, I think of the emotionality of evolution of like a person, an individual. I was surprised by how much I connected with the idea that each time you get a different Mickey, it's kind of the next step in his personality. So you end up getting a Mickey 17 that's very different from a Mickey 18, and then we get to see Robert Pattinson play two very different characters. Now my interpretation of that was, we have a person who goes through a lot of different things and it changes who they are. So each one of them is going to be a little different, even though it's the core of who he is, that is changing as the film goes along, which allows for some really fun acting choices from Pattinson and some really fun action choices from people working around Pattinson, because they're dealing with someone that is always evolving but knows about death. So it has a bit of that depth of what's it like to die, but that's something I really wanted them to explore more, especially because it uses it as a punchline. There is a lot of commentary on what's it like to die as an idea, as a simple thing, but I would have loved if that was a through line underneath all of the other things that we do get to delve into. And this is where we get into a light contextual spoiler. So this is not a spoiler, but just in case you want to know nothing, this was fascinating to me. Mark Ruffalo, I was not prepared from the trailers. Mark Ruffalo was playing a Trump type, and I am shocked this movie got delayed because of a real life incident that then happens in the film. And I would have never guessed, of all the delays of movies that happened since the pandemic and since the writer's strike, something could happen that mirrored real life so much that an actor acting in the manner of a character that is the persona of someone who happens to have power in our country is then having to shift an entire film's release date because the fiction mirrors our nonfiction so linearly you can't feel like it wasn't an accident. Like, this is a baffling, like, this movie itself is fantastic, but the fact that we live in a reality that feels so scripted, that there's a script that happens in this movie and you have to push it, like, this is a crazy circumstance in our real life. That said, I wanted to talk about Mark Ruffalo, because Mark Ruffalo steals every single scene he's in. He is chewing scenery in all the best ways. He is absolutely playing this incredible religious zealot who refers to the church as the company, as we do very often in this the churches don't pay taxes ass country. And it does it while being a commentary on so many things of zealotry, of so many things of people blindly believing one thing and the other. There's some really interesting commentary about, you know, veganism and meat and flesh that follow the Okja journey that Bong Joon-Ho is going on. That's my personal favorite Bong Joon-Ho film, is Okja, and this definitely gets to the point where it feels like a spiritual sequel to that in so many ways. But the hypocrisy of these two characters is absolutely wonderful. This is my favorite role of hers since Hereditary. Like, Toni Collette is absolutely incredible here. Toni Collette is playing the wife of this, you know, very much political leader, this commentary figure, this man who is clearly taking jabs and taking looks at some things in our reality to the point where they had to delay the film. But Toni Collette playing the matriarch of this messed up family of politicism. I was shocked by. Now, I do want to also give some love to Naomie Ackie, who I have not seen in a ton of stuff, but really enjoyed her press tour with this. I've seen her in a few things. She gets to play the fun role of someone who is in love with Mickey and has the opportunity to know what it's like to know multiple Mickeys. And they lean into some really fun hijinks there in really fun adult ways I wasn't expecting. And it really opened my eyes to what I would do if I got to come back, not just mortality-wise, but also getting to meet me and experience me from a third-party perspective. Yeun is chewing scenery in another differently fun way, playing a character that now has me thinking the Sentry with him would have been really fascinating. He plays such a duplicitous character, and they open with that. It's not any sort of spoiler, but the duplicitousness of Yeun, I love him in Beef, and I've loved him in everything I've seen. Here, this makes me think that his Sentry would have been a lot more full of pathos, and the ego of Yeun gets on display here in a way that I wasn't expecting. So I really enjoyed this cast. I really enjoyed the directing. I really liked the writing for the most part, but I do feel like there were a few subplots that I would have liked a little bit more juice of. I don't know if they cut things because of that crazy moment that happened in real life, or if they cut things because of the length of the film, but there were a few things that I felt like it started to go down an interesting journey of commentary, and then they kind of like pivoted left. So overall, it is a far more brazen political commentary than I thought was coming. Overall, it is a film that is very aware of a lot of society's problems here. It looks at religion, it looks at politics, it looks at war, it looks at all the things that I feel like 90s, 80s, 70s, 60s big blockbusters dabbled in a bit more, and it does it in a sci-fi comedy. So I feel like it kind of alienates a lot of different viewership, and I'm really curious how people experience it, because it's bold, it's brazen, it's loud, it's a lot, but it's also pulling no punches politically, pulling no punches when it comes to what the human condition is with death and with our belief in each other. And I had a really interesting time with it. It is a pitch black comedy. It is playing in theaters this weekend. I personally had a good time with it, but I can see how a lot of people won't. I personally think it is a movie that has a message that needs to be said. I just wish there was a few more messages said on that journey. And there's a few moments that were genuinely confusing for me in the very end. I'm not going to give away, but there's a brief moment that felt like it came out of nowhere that might have delved into a zigzag earlier that I'm wondering if there was context for. But definitely check it out. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Did you see Mickey 17? What did you think of Mickey 17? Did you enjoy the multiple Pattinsons? Also, what do you think of the Ruffalo choice and how that played out? Just let me know in the comments below. If you made it to the start of the video, please do hit that subscription bell. Rapidly approaching 50K. When we get there, we're going to do a 50 comment giveaway. Very excited to do so. Also, leave a like in this video because it helps the algorithm, and long-form videos do not ever do as well. So like, subscribe, comment. This one is going to be talked about, so I'd love to have that conversation, as I said, in the comments below, so I can know what you thought of it, you lovelies. Mickey 17 in theaters. Weird time. Miyazaki does dark comedy. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.